I feel as if the world is in a state of grief right now.
I feel the same way. I see it every day in my close group of friends.
Hi, my name is Carla, and this is my beautiful daughter, Bridget. I have shared my story hundreds of times, and yet for the very first time, I'm sharing it with my beautiful daughter.
On August 6th, 2003, we were coming home from a great family vacation. It was my mom, my dad, me, my younger sister Lindsay, my very best friend Tawny, and my younger sister's friend as well.
We had just taken a great trip to Magic Mountain, and on the way home, we were about an hour away from home, and I was driving. We had a tire blowout, and I lost control of the vehicle, and it began to flip. And the next thing I remember, I was upside down in this vehicle. I had woken up to you screaming, "Mommy, Mommy, help me." I looked to my right, and my husband was slumped over and he wasn't moving. It was all very surreal and felt like a dream. And I began to yell at my husband, Brent, you have to get up. You have to help us. And he wasn't moving, so I began to get out of my seatbelt and move towards you to get you out of your seatbelt. And I saw my daughter, Lindsay. Her head was about halfway out of the vehicle, and she wasn't moving either. And I moved towards you, and then on the scene of the accident, there were truckers all around us, and I don't think there's any coincidence that two nurses showed up on the vehicle. I do remember getting you out of your seatbelt, and with help, they moved us to the middle of the desert. It was very hot. It was August 6th, in the middle of Arizona's hot weather, and they began to lay us down. Yet I knew I was fighting because I wanted them to just help my husband and daughter. So I remember trying to get up, and I kept wanting them to go help them, and I kept wondering why they weren't helping them, and yet I think I knew why. I remember something with a blanket.
At that moment, I was 14 years old watching my mom fade in and out, and the nurses were just begging her to sit down and just so they could attend to her. And I remember yelling at one of the truck drivers to just grab a blanket, just to do anything to cover it up, please. And I just remember, yelling at them.
I think for me, it was very surreal. I was trying to figure out almost where I was, because I had crossed over, and I was in this bright light that everyone talks about, and I can remember this light was like no other light I had ever experienced before. I always feel like the sun was shining in me and around me, and there was just light and love and peace everywhere around me. And there was colors outside of this world that I can't describe, and my husband and daughter were just shining in complete brightness. And my husband looked at me and he said, "Honey, you can't stay here." And I remember saying, "Oh no,
No, I'm
oh no,
staying.
I am staying here." And then my little girl looked up at me and she said, "No, Mommy, you can't. You have more to do." I feel as if though I've been trying to find what that is, and I know yet all along it's just been to help people in grief and loss, right? There's all types of grief and loss. We lose ourselves from empty nest syndrome to rape,
Losing
to
our house, losing our job,
relationship, addiction. There's all kinds of ways that we go through grief and loss, and I believe our intention here is just to share a little bit about our own experience. I do want to go back though. I will never forget being in the trauma room, and I remember nurses and doctors being all around me. And Bridget, I can't imagine at 14 years old, you on another gurney, very little injuries, right? You just
Right,
broken
I had
your
only broke
thumb.
my thumb and had really bad road rash. I can't believe I didn't have anything else, but I remember laying on the gurney, and I couldn't see my mom. I didn't know where she was, but I could just hear her screaming in agony. She was in so much pain, and then she got wheeled next to me and to say goodbye,
Yeah.
because they didn't think that she was going to make it, and
I can remember the doctor telling me that we're going to wheel you next to your daughter to say goodbye.
Yeah.
They told me I had less than a 50% chance of living. And they told me to say goodbye. And I think I knew right then and there that I had already crossed over, and I knew that I had more to do and it wasn't going to end there. So I just remember reaching out and touching your hand and saying, Mommy's going to be okay. And
I just thought, okay, she said everything's going to be all right, so.
Of course, in the operating room, I do remember kind of floating aside above my body and being almost as if a vacuum was suctioning me back into the body. I do remember nurses and doctors saying, we're losing her again. And then slowly when I woke up in the ICU, I do remember family around me. And I just looked at them and I said, this didn't happen to me. This happened for me. I think each one of us, when we go through things, it's an opportunity to dive deeper and deeper into who we are. Of course, we lose ourselves, right, in grief. And we'll be talking about that. I think this is our intention, to share a little bit about the clusters and layers that we go through, and just to continue having conversations about grief. So thank you so much for taking your time today to watch our video, and we hope that if we have given you any sort of hope or inspiration, that you'll continue to be in contact with us and watch our own journey through the clusters and layers of grief. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Love you.